a Midnight Waffles podcast.
This is BattleStations, a podcast about the Columbus Destroyers and the Arena Football League. I'm Frank Walker. Welcome to this week's show, folks. We are in the middle of training camp, and this week I did get a chance to actually go out and visit Destroyer training camp at the beautiful Bo Jackson facility, which was a really impressive place. If you didn't get a chance to go out there for the scrimmage, I'd recommend just at some point if you can get out there. I don't know if you got a kid in something or something else, or if they do any other open practices in the future, to get out there and check it out. It is a really cool facility. Seeing it, we've mentioned multiple times on this show, met Coach Salk talking about how it's kind of a premier destination, or not a premier destination necessarily, but kind of one of the premier practice facilities in the Arena Football League. And you can see why, looking at when you get in there. Because, it's got a really good weight room right there on site. It's got what I would say is the equivalent, roughly, of 2.5 arena football fields. Between all the different spaces they have that are different types of turf and whatnot. So it was a really cool setup. They've got a tower up so that it's easy to get up the tower and get video of the practices and everything. If you've been following people on Twitter and the Destroyers stuff on Twitter, you'll be able to get pretty good looks around the facility. And they did do some live video when they did the scrimmage. But it's been a pretty cool. It was a pretty good time being out there. The team treated me well. It was just a really great facility as far as a place to practice. They have some meeting rooms out there. The coaches have some offices out there as far as how they're set up and watch and film and different things. So it gave me a sense that they really are looking at a high-end facility. Got a chance to look around out there and see where eventually the Destroyers plan on having kind of a locker room set up as well, which will actually, to my understanding, be kind of a separate thing from the Bo Jackson facility. But, it'll be there, but the theory is, right now at least, a working plan, which we're always able to change, is that it will kind of be the Destroyers thing. So it's a cool setup. Again, I've said this a lot about this team, but I come away looking impressed. Because with a lot of arena football games, like right now I'm in that span when I'm not watching hockey, that I've been finding the other arena leagues or the other indoor football leagues on YouTube and watching their games. And there's times you watch those games and the uniforms look like something they just got kind of off the shelf. They may not have been specifically designed for the team or whatnot, and the fields look like they're held together with duct tape sometimes. So seeing something at that level of professional quality is really encouraging as a Destroyers fan, and really cool to see. Something else really cool we got a chance to, while I was out of training camp, just had a minute or two to talk with Destroyers defensive back Varmasani.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're here with Varmasani. So, Varma, first of all, what do you think of Columbus?
I love it so far, man. Before I even got here, the fans welcome us, on social media. So, it's a great feeling. I know Ohio's a football state, so I love it.
All right. So last year you were in Albany, had a, real competitive team there. What was that decision of, let's go to Columbus, let's jump in with this new team? What was kind of behind that?
Just being closer to home. I'm from Minneapolis, so it's not too far from my family to come visit, play with Coach Salk in Portland, in 2014, my rookie year, and Coach Clay, and I heard Coach Frank Stanley, was coming. So just a good group of coaching staff around me, and I wanted to get better too as well.
All right, and what's your impression of how training camp's going so far? You guys feel like things are coming together? Or?
Oh yeah. Day by day, we're slowly getting better. It takes the offense a little bit longer, in camp to get together. But they're starting to show how they're playing together. In the defense, we're always, we're just running to the football. That's all we do. So we're all on the same page and we're getting better each and every single day.
All right. Thanks very much, man.
I appreciate you.
So we did appreciate Varm for having some time to talk with us. I do want to also thank Mr. Greg McKee for having a second to talk with us too. He did take some time with us at training camp to talk with us for just a moment. The reason we're not playing that, just in transparency to the fans out there, is in the time after the scrimmage, Greg was essentially made a free agent. The way the AFL is set up, I think he was kind of reclassified as almost like on a reserve list But I believe in the way that he's kind of written about it on his Twitter and whatnot, that he's kind of more of a free agent of another team. They want him, they get him. So I'd feel it would be out of context to say to take what he said at one point and then play it on the show at this point now that time has passed. I wish him the best of luck. And in some other interesting news, Donovan Morgan, the great wide receiver that we talked to on this show, looks like he's been hanging out on the what they call the PUP list, the physically unable to perform. Now, whether this is a conditioning thing or whatever else, the stories haven't really said. I could see how a guy who's been out of the game for some time, they may just kind of be easing him back in. So and it may be something where they're easing him in, and they don't want him taking a roster spot from a guy who might still make the team while they're evaluating everything. I don't think there's any question about Donovan Morgan making this team, obviously. It's just a question of where's he at healthy, physical-wise, and what's going to happen there. Because, when you're out of the game for a year there, as I believe he was, it's tough to just jump right back into it. So I can see why that may be the case there for him. So the next part of our show here, we did get a chance as well to talk to Coach Salk. This is on Friday night right before the scrimmage, kind of right before we had to make some of those big cuts on Saturday. So I think this is a good little talk that kind of gives you some insight into where his mind space was at and everything going into that Saturday scrimmage. And welcome to the BattleStations podcast, the Columbus Destroyers head coach, Matt Salk. How are you doing this evening, Coach?
I'm doing well. It's been a good camp, and I'm a little tired today, but the good thing is we got our scrimmage tomorrow, and we got a little bit of a day off on Sunday.
All right, it's good to hear. Get some time to relax there. Now, last time we talked to you, you were still in Utah. So how are you making with Columbus so far? How do you like in the city, or have you even had much time to look at
it? I've seen it from my hotel room, and I've seen it from Bo Jackson. So those are kind of the two areas that I've been the most. But the biggest thing for me is the people, and every person I've met is super nice and is super excited for the Columbus Destroyers to be back in Columbus.
All right, and now we're about a week in the training camp so far. How would you characterize training camp so far? Has it gone well, smooth, little rough spots? What would you say?
I would say it's about where I thought it would be. Knowing that my defense was going to be stronger than the offense to start. I posted on Twitter that, yesterday was without a doubt the best offensive day that we've had, all camp. And it was just one of those days where I think, maybe the young guys kind of, it just finally maybe clicked for them. And, it showed yesterday. But, our defense has done really good. Offense, it's going to take some time. They have to learn a lot of plays. They're young, but I'm excited. I really like what we have in camp. I'm not one of those guys who get these guys here and then bring in 12 veterans to replace them like other teams. So my goal is to keep what we have and to make sure that these guys are treated well and we just do everything that we can to make them happy.
All right, and you said that was kind of how you expected it to go. Is that been an experience in past camps you had, or is it kind of a function of the fact that there's so many rookies while you've signed kind of some more veteran guys on the defense?
Yeah, that's exactly basically what you just said. It's exactly what I thought. Anytime you bring a rookie in, they have to really. They've never played the game, so they don't know anything about the boards. They don't know anything about the nets. Like how quick it is. Stuff like that. So to me, it's I'd rather build a strong defense first and let the offense kind of come along as we go. And even if it's 5 weeks in the season, just like last year, it doesn't matter where you start; it's where you finish. And Washington at the end of the day ended up winning it all, and they were the better team than the Baltimore and Albany at the time.
All right. Definite good insight there. You're right. It's especially this year. Top four make the playoffs, so you hate to say that you have some time to kind of grow, but you do. You've got a couple of games where you just have to be in the top four come the end of the season there. Now coming into this camp, so pretty much starting a whole team over from scratch. Has there anything that's gone easier than what you'd have expected, or anything that's gone harder than what you would have expected it to be, or is this what surprised you about kind of building from the beginning here?
The hardest part really, to be honest, is just, building a team in a month. And that to me was the difficult part, because to me it's, when I'm recruiting guys, I'd love to have conversations with them, for months in the off season where, you sign a guy and then you're able to talk to him and get to know him. And, even like, to me, I try to look at pictures so I know, like who's coming into camp, what they look like, and, you can immediately recognize them. And with just how hectic, this off season was for us, I had to really just learn guys as they came, with their faces and whatnot. And I would think that to me, to be honest, was probably the hardest part, is just really, in that short amount of time, being able to put together a team was difficult. And, even in Portland, I think we had 2 months. So it was a little bit longer. So, but, like I said, personnel guy did a great job. Our coaching staff has done a great job. I can't complain. This is fun again. I'm not going to lie.
That's good to hear. Things are getting fun. That's always a good sign.
Yeah.
Now, so you got, like you said, you got you got the scrimmage tomorrow. You got a week of training camp, and then kind of a week of kind of, I guess you would call it the real how things are going to go from there on out. At this point, how much are you balancing, getting, learning, figuring out who you're keeping on the team, training guys, but also starting to kind of look ahead a little bit to getting people ready for Albany here in a couple of weeks for the opener? What kind of balance do you have to strike with that and the coaching staff and the players?
Well, right now it's I'm not really worried about Albany right now. I'm just, our day every single, during the week is to be better than the previous day. So my goal, every day is to make sure that one is that, the players are taken care of. And that means, if we need to take the pads off for a day, we can do it. And, like today we did. And, because we did, basically 2 days in a row, guys were kind of getting banged up, and that's just, that's camp. So, I try to, make sure, because my goal is to make sure that they are ready to practice when they need to practice. And, I'm not so much worried about a scrimmage or even, the next week camp. I'm worried about Albany. So, if I can prepare the guys, if I can see, who's good, who's not, then, obviously that's something good to do. But, I also want to make sure that I'm, preparing the guys that we believe will make the team to be ready for Albany and be healthy. So we always want to, be smart on, practice reps, and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, I definitely understand that, and wanting to make sure everything's ready for making sure you have the best team you can.
Yeah.
Being kind of the primary focus. And, I understand, we're coming up on that time where you're going to have to starting to make some cuts, things like that. How hard is that process? From a coach's side of things. I know from a player, there's a certain amount of, obviously you put so much time, so much energy into it. What is it like from a coach's perspective, having to kind of sit a guy down and say, sorry, it's not going to work out, good luck to you?
It's hard. It's usually, if you ask any coach, it's probably their worst day that they ever have to have. Just because, you're basically telling someone that, your dream is over with this team. And that's hard, I've been cut before. I've had that conversation. To me, you just really want to make it as business-like as possible, to where, the guys just kind of understand, this is why I'm being cut. And that's the thing is, when you talk to someone, you really just want to let them know, like, what did they do well and what did they do wrong? And maybe the wrong was more than they did right. And that's the reason why, that they're getting cut. So I just want to make sure that, when I do make a cut, we do it professionally. We do it in person. We do it face to face. We don't do things over text or over calls. But yeah, it is tough. It's not easy to tell someone that, that they're heading home.
No, that could definitely understand that. Now the last question I've got for you today, Coach, because I know you're busy, you got the scrimmage tomorrow, everything else. This is kind of something I've heard just speculated about. As Destroyer fans right now, are with 3 quarterbacks on the roster, are we in a place where you think we've kind of, do we know who the starter is, or do we have a competition going, or what's that perspective from your seat?
It's for sure competition. there is no starter at this point. I've got basically 2 rookies, and I've got a guy who played, I believe, 4 in Greg. I want to say 3. What is it, like 4 or 5 games maybe for Philly last year.
Yeah, I know Dan went down. Rudewall got hurt last year, so that's when he played.
Yeah. So he came in and played, but at the end of the day, it's still him coming to learn a new offense, just like the other 2 guys. So to me, the scrimmage is going to be important for all 3 of those guys. But to be honest, there is no starter. In reality, there's probably no starter on offense yet. On defense, I think there's a little more established on what we have, just because, again, when I'm recruiting, defense first, I'm recruiting guys to come here and play. So there has been a couple of surprises on defense, that I've really been happy about. But offensively, we've got a really young team there, and these guys have to come out and really prove themselves.
Okay, well, thank you very much for your time tonight, Coach. I'll let you get a chance to catch your breath before tomorrow and for the next week, which I'm sure will be crazy.
Yes, sir. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. So the scrimmage that did happen this week, it was encouraging to see. It was fun to see as many fans out there as there were. I know it was a busy Saturday with both the Ohio State spring game as well, and it was cool to see how many fans were out there for it. People kind of starting to get into the get in the mood for arena football again. So they had a really good turnout. So I'm excited to see what's going to happen going forward there. Kind of the tangent of the week is something that's still kind of getting mentioned some online for arena football, which is the TV and streaming deal. We know, because the Destroyers have made one of the season ticket holder benefits the free membership to Monumental Sports Network. That gives us a pretty good idea that their games will be streamed on there. And we know from last year, we can guess that the Valor and the Brigade will be on there. But we've also heard from other places that they're still committed to AFL Now, which is their app, the official Arena Football League app. We know that the league is looking still at things like Facebook Watch, but there's still been this talk of a TV deal of some sort, which is, I'm glad to hear it. If that's what's happening, great. But we're 2 weeks out from a season at this point. We are 2 weeks out, and we don't know yet. Fans don't know what channels any of these games will be on. And I get that maybe they're saving it up for one announcement. I just want to make sure all the I's are dotted and T's are crossed, but we're kind of getting to the nitty-gritty of it at this point. So I'm kind of surprised we haven't seen anything yet. Again, this is just one of those things where, if they get an announcement here in the next few days and everything goes great, wonderful. It won't be a big deal at all. But at the same time, if things are just, if things don't materialize the way they said, it's a bit of a concern there. But I'm interested to see what they do, what they finally announce. And just the final thing. It wasn't a huge week, other than the scrimmage there and whatnot. But I'm really excited because if you guys don't realize this, next week's show, if I'm looking at my calendar right on how this is all going to go, next week's show will be our first show that is actually a game week show, which I'm really excited about. The show may be very different than it's been so far, just in terms of how it's going to be. It's probably going to play much more like a traditional game week show where you have a preview of of the team coming up, that sort of stuff. If you listen to my other show, the Shoot Once podcast about the Columbus Blue Jackets, it doesn't really have that same way to set up because in a given week, the Jackets will play 3-4 different teams. So you just kind of talk about how the team's doing well and where they're performing. Whereas in a football show like this, we can really hone in on, okay, what are the strengths of our opponent? What are their weaknesses? What are our strengths? What are our weaknesses? And those things should get more dialed in as we go through the season. So I'm really excited about it. I hope you guys are really excited about it. So again, thank you for listening, and go Destroyers. Thank you for listening to Battle Stations.